In this video, we have got a 108 kill game with the B36A4 assault rifle on Siege of Cairo Conquest. Stick around, in just a second I'll go into the pros and cons of this gun, how to use the gun generally, how to play on Siege of Cairo Conquest to of course do the best for your team and to maximise your kills, and I will reveal, which is pretty obvious, the #1 attachment which you should use on this gun to pretty much double or even triple your kills every time you use this gun. If you do want to see the attachment which I'm using, the gun build is in the pinned top comment below in the video, but without further ado, let's get into the pros and cons. The first pro of the B36A4 is going to be its bullet velocity, coming in at a value of 975 meters a second in this current gun build, which uses an extended barrel. And this puts this gun in the top 3 guns in the assault class out of the assault rifles for bullet velocity. So what does this mean? Bullets are going to travel faster, are therefore going to hit your target faster, which slightly increases the time to kill of the gun. And overall, hit registration is going to feel a lot better because you're not going to have to lead targets as much. And when you pull the trigger, of course, you're going to start landing those hit markers a lot faster. And overall, that's going to improve the general feel of the gun and therefore its performance when you're using it. In terms of other pros, the magazine size is in the top 2 or 3 assault rifles in the game for its largest potential magazine capacity, because you can choose the attachment option here for the B36 to increase the mag size to 45 rounds. And therefore, if you were to choose this attachment option, it would give the B36 the highest kill potential per magazine out of all the assault rifles. So the B36 comes in with a standard damage of 25 before any damage or bullet drop off. So with 25 damage, it means it takes 4 bullets to get a kill, and therefore 45 rounds in the largest magazine that you can go for, divided by the 4, basic maths, means you can get around 11 potential kills per magazine. And yes, this statistic assumes 100% accuracy, no bullet drop off, and if only hitting body shots, but it's still a valuable stat to compare weapons with. You know, all guns are going to have inaccuracy, damage drop off, etc. But this stat tells you exactly what the potential kill power could be. And in Battlefield 6, where we've now got much smaller maps than we're traditionally used to, and you're therefore going to be encountering a lot more enemies in quick succession, the kill potential per magazine, which is really simple to calculate, is super important on weapons and should be compared, because it will of course allow you to stay alive a lot longer on these small maps if you don't have to die while reloading. Lastly, for the pros of the B36, of course it has very minimal and low vertical recoil. It does have a bit of horizontal recoil, but generally you haven't got to pull down a lot on the right thumbstick or on your mouse. So again, it's very manageable and easy to use at most ranges. And lastly, I wouldn't consider it a massive pro, but a rate of fire of 720 puts it in the top 4, well, joint top 3 for rate of fire in the assault class, which again allows it to have a bit of a faster time to kill and, you know, contributes to it having that slightly lower vertical recoil, which is more manageable to control. Moving on to the cons of the B36, the first one to mention is going to be its reload time, coming in at a value of 2.4 seconds, which puts the B36 on the lower side of the reload times out of all the assault rifles. What makes this worse is that you do not get the attachment option for the B36 of the mag catch for a cost of 5 points, like you would generally get on a lot of other guns in this game, which would improve the reload time by 1 to 2 seconds. So no attachment option there to of course improve the reload time, and it generally is on the slower side as well. Secondly, in terms of the cons, is going to be its mobility, which in this current build comes in at a score of 40, which is actually the worst out of all the assault rifles. Now of course, this stat can be changed significantly depending on the attachments which you're using. So 40 points is on the lower side here with this gun build, but it's not a gun which is very useful to use at close range. Of course, run around, running and gunning and trying to win gunfights, but I will reveal to you in a moment, of course, how you can do really well with this gun, just because of one attachment to, of course, be good on these close range maps. But the mobility there, of course, a issue to be able to run around, run and gun, you know, quickly win gunfights with it. Now, what is probably the largest con of the B36 is going to be bloom. Now, the B36 has, of course, a very low vertical recoil, and the developers have therefore balanced this out by increasing the bloom, and it's one of the guns in the game with the most bloom. And bloom, of course, is an uncontrollable element. You can't pull down against it. It's very random in nature, and so is therefore very frustrating and massively affects your accuracy. There are due to be upcoming updates, which is going to change the bloom across all the guns in Battlefield 6. So this could change, significantly. But currently, the issue of this and what makes it an even bigger con is that to combat it, you need to increase your precision and control stats on the gun, which has meant that I've had to choose a grip, a very expensive grip, which costs 35 points. And this has even a further con to it in that it uses up all your points so that you don't really have the option to go and choose hollow or synthetic rounds to, of course, make the headshot damage multiplier larger, because you still need, your suppressor, your sight, your extended barrel, etc., which are all essential attachments which come before the hollow or synthetic rounds. So overall, that is the largest con of the B36, kind of a triple con in that you've got the bloom, which means you've got to spend a significant amount of points on a good grip to increase your precision and your control, and therefore that prevents you from being able to use the desirable attachments in, of course, the hollow or the synthetic rounds, which could massively improve the time to kill of this gun. Therefore, keep an eye out on updates for Battlefield 6, which changes and improves the bloom, because there might be potential to put a cheaper grip on the gun and therefore use hollow or synthetic rounds, which will massively increase the time to kill for this gun. Okay, so that pretty much covers the B36 in terms of its pros and cons. So how do you want to play and use this gun generally? And of course, mainly here on Siege of Cairo, how do you want to play with it on the smaller maps in Battlefield 6 to still be able to do well with it? So to reveal the best attachment, which to a lot of people is going to be very obvious, and if you rewind and watch the start of the video in the first 2 or 3 clips, you can see how many kills I'm getting in quick succession without being challenged back. This is, of course, going to be the suppressor, which brings with it 3 key benefits, the smallest of which is going to be that it has less audible sound, so it's harder for the enemies to hear, and therefore they cannot quickly pinpoint where the sound is coming from and then face that direction to try and target it and shoot back. Secondly, they do not get any red hit indicator on the screen when they're taking damage, so again, it's hard for them to quickly react and turn in the direction which they're getting shot from, which gives you more time to be, more time to actually miss shots and be less accurate, but still, be able to get the kills easily. And thirdly, for the suppressor, is that it reduces your red dot on the minimap to only within around 15 meters, which is basically non-existent on the minimap when you're firing. And not appearing on the minimap is going to be the #1 reason why the suppressor is the best attachment on this gun and to do well on the close range maps. Of course, you don't want to run around, run and gun with this gun, going into those 1v1 gunfights where you're trading shots, because you do have a slightly slower ADS time versus, your carbines and your SMGs. And you've got a slightly slower ADS time because you do have to pick one of the more expensive grips, which tries to improve your precision and control. So to play with this gun, using the suppressor in the close range maps, you need to try and get good positioning whereby you can shoot enemies from the side where they're not, of course, facing and looking at you, to therefore go into those gunfights where you trade shots at each other. So after you watch this video with 3 minutes left, go back and watch the first or second clip. You may pretty much just watch the first clip where I get almost a 20 kill streak within the first minute and a half of this game, where I pretty much flank around the enemies right at the start of the game, and none of them look directly to where I am, or instantly run up the stairs and get into a close range gunfight because I'm using a suppressor and not appearing on the minimap. So that is pretty much the #1 reason why I can do well with this gun on a close range map, because the suppressor is keeping me off the minimap and the enemies are not pushing up in my face in close range, which is of course the disadvantage for me. Okay, so we have 2 minutes left of the video now, so let's briefly cover Siege of Cairo Conquest, where on this map you want to be going to find the most amount of people, to get the most amount of kills, and of course to help your team out the most. Now the center of the map on Siege of Cairo is of course going to be the main hub where people are always going to be, your teammates and enemies, no matter whether your team has got the flag and you're therefore defending it, or whether the enemies have got the flag and you're capturing it. There's always going to be people there, and that's simply because it's at the center of the map, and it's at the center with a short, equal distance to all the flags around it. So anybody spawning on the flags around it can quickly and easily get to the center of the map, so there's always going to be people there. If you are going to stick around the center of the map, try and stick either side of the main road, on the second stories of those buildings, because you don't want to be at ground level where the enemies are of course running around at chest height. So this gives you an advantage and means the enemies have to take a second longer to actually identify that you're on the second floor and to then aim up before trying to shoot at you. D flag is also another advantageous location where you can go to find and get a lot of kills. If the enemies are about to capture the flag, then it's very easy to defend one of the very small entranceways which are actually going onto or off the flag, and the flag is down in a sort of ditch whereby they've got to come up and out of the flag, and there's a lot of high ground surrounding the flag, so it's very easy there to cut the enemies off that are coming from D flag. And lastly, I would say to avoid going to E flag if you are playing with close range weapons, because it's right next to the enemy spawn, of which the enemies can run behind the entire row of buildings and pretty much get up very close range to you when you're trying to capture the flag. But yeah, that's the video. Please smash a like for me, and I will see you on the next one.